the first thing that has to come back in all likelihood is probably international leisure travel. That's not going to come back until we see the number of new cases decline, and we see advances in either vaccines or testing that are going to allow international borders to bring down the 14-day mandatory quarantine. It's just not pragmatic for people who want to travel on trips to be quarantined for 14 days. So, I think we see that progress. Some of the news this week out of the Pfizer study has been very encouraging. And, we have to continue to watch that. But that's probably going to be the first thing that comes back and we'll watch. The second thing is going to be business travel. And I think there's a couple of different elements of business travel that we have to wait on. Number one, corporate offices have to reopen. We have to get back in the routine of people being on campuses or in corporate settings because, everybody I talk to, consultants, salespeople, bankers, lawyers, they want to travel, but they're not in a position where their clients really want to see them at this point or are able to see them. But I've got a high degree of confidence that's going to come back. And there's this, excuse me, this anecdote that I've heard a couple of times in different settings that if you're in a sales job, the first time you're meeting with customers virtually and your competitor meets face to face and you lose the deal, virtual selling is dead. Right? You're not gonna stand for your CFO telling you can't travel if you're not able to close deals while your competitors are face to face, taking out to dinner or getting in there with those personal interactions. So I do think that will snap back pretty quickly once the world gets used to, or ultimately we see things normalize a little bit. And then I think the last piece is, and we've alluded to this, there may be a part of business travel that, suffers some near permanent destruction. We were pretty crazy and pretty open to taking the day trip to Europe, flying over there for a 2-hour meeting and then flying back. That probably has been mitigated in large part by Zoom and by some of the other AV technologies, but you never know. That might come back as well. I think where we would say is we'd probably be inside of the 8 to 9 years that others have said. I think it's probably more in the kind of 4 to 5 year time frame. But when we say come back and resume normal levels, I think that's a new normal where revenues might lag a little bit what we've seen. And that's where we need to really drive the cost efficiency through the organization to drive similar or better margins than what we saw pre-COVID.